I never thought I'd be the girl to destroy lives, until I caught them doing the most disgusting thing imaginable. I always trusted them. My own blood, my own family. Growing up, I believed we were unbreakable. A team against the world. Maybe that's why it hurt so much more when I found out just how little I really meant to them. They thought they could betray me, and I'd never find out. It all started 3 months ago, right after my birthday. I was planning my future, saving up for college, working 2 jobs, dreaming bigger than anyone in my family ever had. I thought they'd be proud of me. I thought they'd cheer me on. Instead, they were plotting something behind my back. My older sister Mia always had a jealous streak. She used to mock my dreams, call me the little princess, say I'd never make it out of our small town. I brushed it off. Siblings fight, right? I never imagined she would turn that jealousy into full-blown betrayal. One rainy evening, I came home early from work. My shoes were soaked, my jacket clinging to my skin. I was exhausted, dreaming of a hot shower and sleep. But the moment I opened the door, something felt off. Laughter, low, conspiratorial, echoed from the kitchen. I moved closer, heart pounding. Through the crack in the door, I saw them. Mia, my mom, and my so-called best friend, Rachel. They were sitting there, laughing over coffee. But not just laughing. They had papers spread out in front of them. My papers. My college applications. I froze, hidden in the shadows, listening as they ripped apart my dreams, mocking my essay, laughing at my hopes, saying I was delusional for thinking I could ever be anything more than trailer trash. I heard every cruel word, every dagger they plunged into my heart. My mom, my own mother, said she'd never waste money on a useless degree for a daydreamer. Mia joked she'd be surprised if I even graduated high school. Rachel, the girl I trusted with every secret, said she'd bet I'd be pregnant and broke within a year. I stumbled back, tears blurring my vision, rage and heartbreak tearing me apart inside. They didn't know I was there. They didn't know I had heard everything. In that moment, I decided I wouldn't just walk away. No. I was going to make sure they regretted ever underestimating me. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every word they said. The laughter, the insults, the betrayal. It was like I had fallen into a nightmare. I kept asking myself why. Why would the people I loved go so far to humiliate me? The next morning, I acted normal. I came downstairs, smiled at Mom, complimented Mia's stupid outfit, and even texted Rachel like nothing happened. I needed time. Time to plan. Time to gather proof. Because I wasn't just going to call them out. I was going to expose them. That's when I started recording. Every conversation. Every whisper. I left my phone charging in the kitchen with the voice recorder on. I accidentally left my diary in the open, baiting them. And they fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. They couldn't help themselves. Within 2 weeks, I had hours of audio. Mum talking about how she was taking the money I'd saved. Mia bragging about how she'd convinced my guidance counselor that I wasn't mentally stable. Rachel mocking me for crying at work. They were disgusting. Pure poison. I burned with anger, but I stayed calm. Smiling. Pretending. Until one night, my moment came. My school was hosting a scholarship gala. The principal asked me to speak, not knowing my family was actively trying to sabotage me. That's when I knew it was now or never. I stood on that stage, looking out at the crowd. My mum, Mia, and Rachel sat in the second row, all wearing fake smiles. They had no idea. I took a breath and hit play. My voice recorder was connected to the speaker system. Every vile word they said echoed in that hall. The audience gasped. Teachers stared in shock. My mom's face turned white. Mia looked like she wanted to vanish. Rachel ran out crying. I stood there, shaking but proud. For the first time, I wasn't their victim. I was the storm they never saw coming. The room fell silent when the recording stopped. I stood there, my heart thundering in my chest. My hands trembled, but I didn't care. I finally had their masks off. No more pretending. No more fake hugs or hollow words. Everyone saw them for who they truly were. My principal walked up to the microphone, stunned. She stuttered a few words and quickly pulled me aside. I thought I was in trouble, honestly. I expected to be suspended or worse. But she looked at me, eyes wide, and whispered, "Are you okay?" That's when I broke. I cried. Not just tears, full body, shaking, breathless sobs. Everything I'd held in for weeks spilled out. The lies, the pain, the betrayal. It all hit me at once. I felt exposed and raw, but also free. I wasn't hiding anymore. My story was finally out. Later that night, I went home to find chaos. My mom screamed at me, demanding I apologize for embarrassing the family. Mia tried to grab my phone, yelling that I had no right to record them. Rachel? She had already blocked me on everything. Coward. I didn't fight back. I just stood there, calm and cold, and said, "You did this to yourselves." Then I walked upstairs, packed my bag, and left. No dramatic goodbye. No last look. I was done with all of them. I had a friend from work who offered me a couch. The next few days were hell. Rumors flew through school. Some people supported me. Others said I was a drama queen. My mom tried to spin it, calling me a liar. But I had the truth. I uploaded the full audio online. Not edited, not exaggerated. Just raw truth. It went viral. Overnight. People all over town, even strangers, started messaging me. Some shared their own stories of betrayal. Some offered support. One woman even sent me a $500 donation for school. I cried again. But this time, it wasn't from pain. It was hope. A week passed, and my mum finally showed up at my work. She didn't come to apologize. No, of course not. She came to save face. She begged me to take down the recording. Sighed it was ruining her reputation and hurting Mia's college chances. I laughed in her face. "You never cared about my future," I told her. "But now that the world sees who you really are, I'm the problem." Her eyes were cold. No remorse. No shame. Just anger that her little puppet had cut the strings. I told her to leave before I called security. After that, she started a smear campaign. Told relatives I was on drugs. Told my grandma I was dating older men for money. I thought it would crush me, but it didn't. Because for the first time, I was living for me. I didn't need their approval anymore. Meanwhile, my video caught the attention of a local journalist. She reached out, asked for an interview. I said yes. I wanted people to know. This happens. To girls like me. Smart girls. Kind girls. Girls whose families secretly want to see them fail. The article was titled, "Betrayed by Blood." It painted the full picture. Not just the scandal, but the emotional abuse, the subtle control, the way they crushed my self-worth for years. People read it, they felt it. Some even wrote letters saying it helped them leave toxic homes. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was growing. I got accepted into my top college with a full scholarship. I moved into a small dorm, away from the poison. I started therapy. I made new friends, real ones. Ones who didn't smile while stabbing me in the back. Months passed and I started to breathe again. I woke up without that tight knot in my chest. I stopped flinching every time my phone rang, expecting drama. For once, I felt safe. I could finally look in the mirror and recognize the girl staring back at me. That healing isn't linear. One night, I got a message from Mia. It was long, messy, and filled with fake apologies. She said she missed me, that Mom was miserable, that Rachel had moved away. It sounded like a setup, like they needed something. I didn't reply. 2 days later, Mom sent me a voicemail, crying. Said she was diagnosed with something serious and wanted to make amends. I almost gave in. Almost. But then I remembered all the nights I cried myself to sleep because of her words. I blocked the number. I told myself, if they truly wanted forgiveness, they'd change. That they didn't want to change. They wanted access. Access to my peace, my progress, my success. I wasn't a person to them. I was a tool they lost control over. I wasn't about to hand it back. That choice hurt. There's something hollow about walking away from people who once meant everything. But sometimes, healing means letting the old version of yourself die along with the relationships that broke her. And that version of me, she was gone. Now I focus on me, my dreams, my education, my joy. I still get moments of grief birthdays, holidays, but I no longer crave their love. Because I've learned something powerful. You don't need to be loved by the people who hurt you. You just need to love yourself enough to leave. One day, I got invited to speak at a youth event. Me, the girl who once hid in her room, afraid to be heard. Now I stood on stage, telling 100 teens that pain doesn't define them. That sometimes, family isn't who you're born to, but who you choose. After the event, a girl came up to me, maybe 16. Tears in her eyes. She said, "Your story, it's mine too." I hugged her. And in that moment, I realized my pain had purpose. I wasn't just healing for me. I was healing for every silent voice like mine. That feeling pushed me harder. I started a podcast, sharing stories from people who escaped toxic homes. It grew faster than I expected. Messages poured in. Strangers told me they left abusive relationships because of something I said. It humbled me. Meanwhile, Mia tried to reinvent herself online. She started a blog about sisterhood and healing. Can you believe it? The same girl who mocked my dreams was now pretending to be a life coach. But karma wasn't done with her. Not by a long shot. Someone recognized her from my viral video. Her comment section exploded. People demanded accountability. Screenshots were shared. She went private within a day. Then the blog disappeared. Poof. Just like that. I didn't laugh. I just felt peace. Because I didn't have to destroy them. I just had to speak my truth. The world handled the rest. That's the thing about lies, they rot from the inside. And when the mask cracks, there's no hiding what's underneath. All I did was hold up the mirror. Months later, out of nowhere, Rachel messaged me. No apology. No accountability. Just a simple, "Hey, wanna catch up?" Like nothing happened. Like she hadn't laughed while planning to ruin my future. I stared at the screen, wondering how people could be so shameless. I didn't respond. Instead, I screenshotted the message and filed it away. Proof, in case she ever tried to twist the story again. Because if there's one thing I learned, it's that toxic people don't miss you. They missed the access to the person they abused. Still, a part of me grieved. It's weird mourning people who are still alive. You keep hoping they'll wake up one day and realize what they lost. But they don't. And if they do, it's never because they love you, it's because they lost control over you. Meanwhile, I focused on building my life. I got a new job. Worked late hours. Pushed through my classes. There were nights I broke down, overwhelmed by everything. But every time I thought about quitting, I remembered that little girl who begged for love and got betrayal. I wasn't living for revenge. I was living for her. for the version of me that deserved better all along. And every small win, a past exam, a promotion, a new friend felt like a victory, not just over them, but over the darkness they left inside me. I realized healing isn't loud. It's quiet. It's waking up one day and not thinking about them first. It's choosing peace over chaos. It's not needing to prove you're okay, it's simply being okay. And for the first time in years, I was. 6 months later, I was invited to a leadership summit for young women. Just being in the room felt surreal. Everyone had a story, but when I shared mine, the room went silent. Not out of pity but respect. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a survivor with a voice. One of the keynote speakers was a best-selling author I'd admired for years. After my panel, she walked up to me and said, "You need to write a book." I laughed. Me? But she wasn't joking. "The world needs your story," she said. And that stuck with me. I went home that night and started writing. The pain I'd buried, the memories I thought I was done with, they came pouring out. But this time, I wasn't breaking down. I was breaking through. I cried, yes, but they were tears of release. I was reclaiming it all. At the same time, Mia posted a TikTok, claiming she had been the victim, that I twisted the narrative and set her up. Her video got a few likes until people flooded the comments with facts, screenshots, clips, receipts. The internet doesn't forget. I didn't even flinch. I didn't post a response. I didn't need to, because the truth doesn't need defending. It stands on its own. Let her perform. Let her lie. I'd already moved beyond her. I wasn't just ahead. I was in a different universe. Meanwhile, my manuscript started gaining attention online. I posted short excerpts, and people resonated. Publishers reached out. I couldn't believe it. Something born from so much pain was turning into my future. My own name, my own voice, my own power. And you know what hit me the most? It wasn't revenge. It wasn't validation. It was the simple, beautiful fact that I made it out. That the worst thing they ever did to me became the best reason I finally became me. Not a shadow. Not a daughter. Just me. The first time I held the printed copy of my book, I cried. Not because of sadness, but because it symbolized everything I survived. Every sleepless night. Every betrayal. Every time I thought I wasn't enough. It was all right there, bound between two covers. The launch day came faster than I expected. I booked a small venue downtown, expecting maybe 20 people. But over 100 showed up. Teachers, old classmates, strangers who had followed my journey. They hugged me, cheered for me, celebrated me. Mom didn't show up. Neither did Mia. And honestly, I was glad. That chapter of my life was closed. I didn't need them clapping for victories they tried to destroy. I didn't want fake smiles or shallow apologies. I only wanted real, honest love in that room. After the event, a reporter asked me if I had forgiven them. It caught me off guard. I thought about it for a long moment before answering. "Forgiveness doesn't mean access," I said. "I forgive them for me, but they'll never have the privilege of hurting me again." That answer went viral. It was quoted in articles, reposted on Instagram pages, even turned into wall art. For the first time, my words weren't twisted. They weren't weaponized against me. They were heard, understood, celebrated. I felt powerful. I felt whole. Weeks later, I received a message request from someone I didn't recognize. It was Mia's ex-boyfriend. He apologized for everything said. He didn't know the full extent back then. He said, "They tried to break you, but you became unstoppable." I respect that. And reading that, I realized this wasn't just my story anymore. It was bigger than them. Bigger than me. It was about survival, strength, resilience, It was about refusing to let betrayal define you. It was about choosing light when all you knew was darkness. Life started to feel easy. Not perfect, but peaceful. I didn't jump at every notification. I didn't walk on eggshells. I laughed louder, slept deeper, smiled without forcing it. And somewhere along the way, I realized I had built something no one could take from me. One evening, while scrolling online, I stumbled across Mia's latest attempt at reinvention. A half-hearted apology video. Fake tears. Claims of being misunderstood. I didn't even watch it all. I closed the app, shook my head, and went back to my real life. Because that's what healing really looks like. It's not standing over your enemies and gloating. It's not waiting for their downfall. It's realizing they don't matter anymore. They can spin whatever story they want. You're too busy living yours. My second book was already underway. This one wasn't about pain. It was about victory. About what happens after you survive. About joy that no one gave you permission to have. I wasn't writing from scars anymore. I was writing from strength. Sometimes people ask me if I ever regret exposing them. If I wish I had kept quiet to keep the peace. I always smile and say the same thing. There is no peace in silence, only chains. Speaking out didn't destroy my family. Their actions did. I just stopped hiding it. In rare moments, when memories creep back in, I don't push them away. I honor them. Those memories remind me how far I've come. They remind me that survival isn't weakness, it's proof. Proof that no matter what they did, they couldn't erase me. I'm still here, and that's the thing they'll never understand. I didn't just survive them. I outgrew them. I became someone stronger, wiser, kinder. Not because of them, but in spite of them. They were the fire. But I became the wildfire. Unstoppable. Untouchable. Alive. One afternoon, as I walked past the cafe where I once sat crying over them, I stopped. It was still there. Same creaky door. Same smell of burnt coffee. But it didn't haunt me anymore. It was just a place. They were just people. My heart didn't even race. Healing feels like that. Like returning to the crime scene and realizing the ghosts have no power anymore. Like standing where you once broke and feeling nothing but peace. I smiled, pushed the door open and bought myself a coffee. A small, quiet victory. While sipping my drink, I overheard two girls at the next table talking about my book. "She's so brave," one said. "Imagine going through all that and still shining." I didn't interrupt. I just listened, my heart swelling. I had become someone worth admiring. Later that night, I wrote in my journal. I used to write to survive, to pour out the ache. Now I wrote to celebrate. "You made it," I scribbled. "You turned pain into power. You turned betrayal into beauty. You turned survival into a story that saves others." It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't even about them. It was about me choosing myself every single day, loving myself enough to walk away, to heal, to build, to shine. I no longer needed apologies or closure. I had already given those things to myself. Sometimes I still wonder if they think of me, if they regret, if they scroll through my pages late at night, seeing the life they never thought I'd have. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. Their opinions stopped mattering the day I chose me. Because the real revenge, it's living well, laughing harder, loving deeper, building a life so beautiful, it makes the people who tried to break you question everything. And that's exactly what I was doing one fearless, brilliant, unapologetic day at a time. A year later, standing on the stage at a national conference, I shared my story with thousands. Bright lights, rows and rows of faces looking up at me, hanging on to every word. I wasn't scared. I wasn't small. I stood tall, the same girl they tried to silence. I spoke about resilience, about betrayal, about choosing yourself when it feels impossible. When I finished, the room exploded into a standing ovation. I smiled through tears. Not sad tears, proud ones. I was no longer a prisoner of what they did to me. Afterward, people lined up to hug me, to thank me, to tell me that my story gave them hope. Mothers, daughters, survivors, dreamers. For the first time, I realized just how far the ripples of healing could reach. My pain had planted seeds of courage in others. One young girl, maybe 17, hugged me and whispered, "I thought I was alone." And in that moment, I knew it had all been worth it. Every betrayal, every tear, every lonely night. If my survival gave even one person hope, then nothing they did had defeated me. I went home that night, collapsed on my bed, and looked at the ceiling with a full heart. This was what they could never steal. Not my spirit, not my future, not my light. They thought they had ended me, but they had only ignited something stronger. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to see them suffer. My existence, my thriving, my laughter, that was the victory. Every day I lived my truth was another day their cruelty lost. I didn't erase their darkness with hate. I erased it with love for myself. And as I drifted off to sleep, I made a quiet promise to myself. No matter where it took me, no matter what storms came, I would never again dim my light for anyone. I had fought too hard for it. I had earned every single piece of my freedom. Time passed, and one day, without even planning it, I bumped into Mia at a bookstore. She looked different. Smaller, not physically, but spiritually. Her eyes darted away the second she saw me. But I caught the flicker of recognition and something else. Regret. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something. Maybe apologize, maybe explain. But I didn't wait. I smiled, nodded politely, and walked past her. Not out of cruelty, but because I owed her nothing. Closure wasn't something she could give me. I already had it. As I walked away, I felt lighter than ever. There was no hatred in my heart. No bitterness. Just peace. She was a closed book. A chapter one had finished writing long ago. And no matter how many times she tried to reopen it, the story was over for me. Outside the bookstore, the sun hit my face and I smiled. This was my life now. A life built not from their acceptance, but from my own bravery. A life where I was the hero, not the victim. A life where I chose my own ending, not the one they tried to write for me. That night, as I shared the story with my friends, they cheered. We toasted with cheap wine and laughed loud enough to shake the walls. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living, thriving, loving. Every joy felt sweeter because I had earned it the hard way. And somewhere deep down, I thanked the girl I used to be. The girl who stayed kind when it would have been easier to be cruel. The girl who kept believing in love, in hope, in herself. She had carried me through the fire. And because of her, I was free. So here's to her. And to anyone out there fighting battles no one sees. To anyone who's been betrayed, abandoned, broken. Your story isn't over. Your light isn't gone. You are more powerful than you know. You are still standing, and that makes you unstoppable. Months later, sitting at my favorite coffee shop, I got an email that made me tear up. A major publisher wanted to republish my first book worldwide. They said it wasn't just a story, it was a movement. They wanted to amplify my voice, to spread my message even further. I stared at the screen, overwhelmed. This was bigger than I ever dreamed. Bigger than the hurt. Bigger than the past. They tried to silence me, and here the world was, asking me to speak louder. I whispered to myself, "You did it. You survived beautifully. The book tour took me to cities I had only ever seen in dreams. New York, Paris, London. Rooms full of strangers who knew my name, who thanked me for my courage. Each time someone said, "Your story saved me," it stitched another piece of my heart back together. One evening after an event, I stood on a balcony overlooking the city lights, and for the first time I allowed myself to cry, not from pain, but from gratitude. They didn't just fail to break me. Their betrayal became the soil where I grew my wildest dreams. I thought about reaching out to them sometimes, not for revenge, but to show them what they couldn't destroy. But every time, I chose silence. Not because I was afraid, but because peace is louder than any confrontation. My life spoke for itself. When people asked me, "What would you say to them if you had the chance?" I always smiled and answered, "Nothing." I owe them no words, no explanations. My healing didn't require their understanding. My happiness didn't need their validation. It never did. As I looked at the glittering skyline, I realized something powerful. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's not even thinking about them at all. It's building a life so full, so rich, so stunning, that there's no room left for their shadows anymore. Today, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the girl who was betrayed. I see the woman who rose, who fought for herself when no one else did, who loved herself back to life. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night, they all built the masterpiece I became. I don't seek their apologies. I don't crave their remorse. What they took from me, I rebuilt stronger. What they tried to break, I made unbreakable. Their betrayal didn't define me. My resilience did. My power did. My endless, roaring, unstoppable heart did. If I could go back and warn my younger self, I wouldn't. She didn't need protection. She needed the fight, the lessons, the storms. Because she wasn't meant to stay small. She was meant to rise, to roar, to blaze a path so bright that it lit the way for others. So here's to the girl who loved too deeply, who trusted too easily, who hurt too much. She wasn't weak. She wasn't foolish. She was a warrior in training. And now, she's a queen in her own kingdom, wearing a crown built from every broken piece they left behind. To anyone listening, carrying the weight of betrayal on your chest, it's not the end. It's the beginning. It hurts now, I know. It feels unbearable. But I promise you, there is life after heartbreak. There is love after loss. And there is you, still shining. Your story isn't over because they mistreated you. It's only just beginning. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. Stronger, braver, wiser, more brilliant than before. Hold on. Breathe. Believe. Your light is not gone. It's just waiting for you to claim it. And if this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments. Did you ever catch someone betraying you? Did you ever rise stronger than they imagined? I'd love to hear your story too. We survive together. We rise together. Always.